Good Life. I'm Dean Wilson. I'm so glad you're with us wherever you are. You're special. We like you. We love you. Glad you're here. If you're watching us on TV, on the airwaves of Santa Barbara, California, at TVSB, we welcome you. If you're joining us, we're seeing you from all over the world at goodlifetelevision.org, at the podcast, Good Life Conversations, and of course, all the social media platforms. We're just grateful for you, and we're talking about the good stuff and what we dwell on so important. And so today is a field trip day. Good Life has gone Hollywood. We're somewhere in the Burbank area at a place called Kappa Studios, which I'm going to tell you about. You know, this is a real special place. We've spent the last hour or two kind of looking around, but we'll get to that in a minute. But I want to welcome my guests. The founder, Paul Long, is with me, and Brad Silverman, who is the Chief Creative Officer. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So, what a wonderful place, and I just want to commend you. First of all, it's been wonderful. We got to meet some of this team, and we got to talk a lot with Brad, and it's really great what's happening here, which we'll get to in a few minutes. But where did you guys kind of grow up, and tell us just a little bit about your backgrounds.
Well, I guess my background, it has to do really my testimony. Is really my background.
Mm-hmm.
I came to faith late. I lived hard until I was about 28 years old. When I heard about Jesus, that was the first time I ever, it was basically a cuss word until then, but I heard about Christ, but didn't do much with it. I ended up just kind of following forward and continuing on that path, but at least I had sort of started to hear about Christ. But just to bring it down to a shorter little sentence, I got married, and we went down on the field of the Billy Graham Crusade, and my wife had said, hey, yeah, I'd like to go. I said, would you like to go down the field? She's like, yeah, okay. So we went down the field, and he said, would you come down? There's room on the right, and there's room over, can't you come on the sides? Remember this? And so I said, should we go down? And yeah, okay. We went down there. I only went on the field, Dean, because I had never been on a baseball field. I didn't go down I was not broken with sin. I wasn't repenting, which is missing in the culture in so many ways now. But repentance was the important. So we went on. My wife likes to say we checked the box of faith and went, okay, yeah, baby, I got that. And we went on to the next. Well, that informed the way we lived, the way I operated the business, employees, being a husband, father, everywhere, right down the line. And so for many years, we lived in the church, and we professed the name of Christ, but we never lived for him. Mm-hmm. And so fast forward, we came to a place where it was just boom like this, and we went into biblical counseling, and it was quite amazing. And we were saved through that experience. And he showed us our sin and used the scripture to talk through, and we're like, it was like jaw-dropping. Wow. So that's how it came. We were saved. Who knew, But we got to a place where we just couldn't live together in a very harmonious way. So God was gracious to heal that marriage, and even today. So I'm enjoying my dear wife, and one quick anecdote. I was saying to her, hey, I'm going down to Home Depot. Do you want to take a ride to Home Depot? She says, oh, why would I want to do that? So I just thought you might want to go to Home Depot. No, I don't want to do that. She didn't want to really be around me. Fast forward, I can be going to Home Depot anywhere you want. She says, I want to go. Because we just love being together. The Lord's done that.
That's so wonderful. Wow.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Karen.
Karen. Wonderful. What about you?
Well, you might get to it in a minute, but don't lose sight that the K of Kappa is Karen.
I wondered.
Yeah.
Where
Karen, Paul, and Patrick, their first son was Patrick, so that's the K's and the P's of Kappa. You need some vowels.
That's right.
There's no Andrew or Alyssa or anything, but there's K's and P's. So,
The tech names are all gone.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I grew up in the valley here, pretty close to where we're sitting now, just about 15 minutes west of here. So my whole life has been lived in the Los Angeles area, and got into the entertainment field pretty early, probably 17, 18. There was no mystery kind of growing up in LA, kind of not what you do, but there was no, big mystique about it either for me. So I got into mostly in front of the camera, comedy and just performance. That was kind of my life. And a buddy I met pretty early on, back early 90s, was just a real, just wonderful Christian guy. I'm of Jewish background, 100%. Mm-hmm. Silverman's kind of a subtle name for Jewish person. And so I just, I had no interest in any more within Christianity or Christ than I was in my own Jewishness. It was just kind of who I was, right? I was just Jewish. That was our culture and everything. And this buddy of mine, I'll never forget that moment, early 90s, he was evangelizing and I could see it, and I wasn't interested, but he said, and I just said, to get out of it, I just said, hey, I'm Jewish and I'm proud of it. And his name was Tony, and he goes, well, you should be. And at that moment in my life, Dean, it was like, he could have said anything else. I would have been, oh, cool, whatever. And it was like a magnet. I was like trying not to respond, and I'm like, why? Right? And he goes, because Jesus was Jewish, and the apostles were Jewish. And I'm like, I literally sat there and argued. I'm like, no, they're not. They're Catholic, you know? And that's all I knew, right? St. Peter's like, send me some Catholic statue somewhere or something. What does it even mean?
Get it straight.
Get it straight, Tony. So all that to say, it started a conversation with him that would be a couple of years of just, I wasn't interested in the Lord. I wasn't interested in repenting of sin. I just found it intriguing. He was a good guy to talk to. And so fast forward a few years later, he and I didn't talk for a long time. We parted ways. Not just life went on, but my life just kind of went downhill, and I got to a place where I was humbled by God, not realizing exactly what was going on. A lot more to the story, but randomly, coincidentally, I bump into Tony at a random gas station. Like I think it was on the way to Fillmore or something. I don't even remember where. I was like, no place you should bump into the guy, right? Total coincidence, right, Dean? And I was so happy to see him, and he'd invited me to church many times, and I always said no. And at this time, he invited me again. I'm like, I was so broken by that. I'm like, sure, what have I got to lose? And the only thing I'll add to that is that, to wrap it all, this is all testimony stuff going back 25 years ago, but I think this is kind of noteworthy that at that time in my life, Dean, as God was drawing me to himself, then my Jewishness mattered. Okay, it didn't matter up until then. I felt like, what does this even mean? So I met with a rabbi, and I was just like, who is Jesus? He's Jewish, you know? I'm like, I have this new information to share with the world. And he's like, I get a list, and it says the 10 most influential Jews ever. And Jesus was listed 7th. Okay? And I look and I go, by listing him, you acknowledge he existed. And I'm like, 7th? They literally started time over for this guy. How is he behind Karl Marx? Or, it was just this bizarre thing. And the rabbi hemmed and hawed, and I don't mean to throw him under the bus, but he was just like, he couldn't give me any answers. I'm like, well, just who is he then? Who do you think and I was honestly looking, he just eventually pounds the table and says, that's not your concern. And I'm like, at that time in my life, I was like, all right, if that's the best you got, then I got to look somewhere else. Wow. So I started going to church. The rest is history. I got saved. I was in the film business. I walked away. I couldn't keep doing it. So more to the story, but that's kind of the gist of it. And then started making movies, became, as a director, found this incredible place called Kappa Studios with a K. Right. Turns out it's named, the K is after the owner's wife. Right. And met Paul. We just started becoming friends, started praying together. I was just a client of Paul's for many years. And to kind of bring the story home, in 2016 was when something I was doing fell through, and then timing was right, so he was gracious enough to bring me on board.
So let's talk about this. So we're sitting at Kappa Studios. We're in Burbank, Warner Brothers, Universal, Disney, all around here, and we're in the center of it. Kappa Studios, which is kappastudios.com if you want to look that up. So Paul, you've been in this business a long time, so 30 plus years. This is you're a really well-respected guy in the business, and this is a well-respected. I'm learning about this, by the way, so I'm trying to talk the lingo.
Very respected, yeah.
But in terms of post-production studios, right? Is that the right name?
Yeah. You nailed it.
Okay, good. Post-production studios, this is a very well-respected place. So you guys you've had a long history in this business on, the business side, the technical side, you know the production. So you're doing that. And then a number of years ago, you made a change. Talk about what happened, both of you.
Yeah. You want me to start?
Please.
All right. Yeah. It sort of dovetails in with me going down on the field to Billy Graham and all that. But even after I was saved, I always thought I had to get the payroll done and I thought I was doing all these things in my pride. And we started to bump into more and more film projects I really just couldn't do. TV shows, different things were happening. As we've noticed, the culture is going, it's just continuing. And so we just got to a place of, I mean, my wife and I, there was one particular show came in, and I just had to say no to it. And I remember her saying, you know, what shows are there left to do? You're sending this one away now. But before that happened, I was taking all those shows because I was worried about covering the costs of business, labor, and all of that. And so I was, in my pride, I was very interested in being in business and doing that stuff. And those were idols that I found out later. I really realized those were idols. And, you know, if God's up here, fine. If God's down here, then whatever you got's up here. So I had flipped the script on it. And so I never really noticed that, but I kept thinking, I got to make the payroll, I got to do this, I got to do that. And I got to the place where we just couldn't do it anymore. I finally just went, okay, well, it's going to be, we're going to either go out of business or we're going to ask the Lord to bring in the people I can work for. Just, is there anybody out there? And that's really how it started. And we started saying, okay, we're going to pray, Lord, bring us the people. Bring us the people. Pretty simple. It's not a self-help technique, and I don't want your viewers to take that wrong. It's nothing like that. We just start crying out to God, saying, bring us the people. Who are those people? And where will they come from? Because I couldn't see it. I literally couldn't figure out. I spent my life in the secular world. Well, who would come here? And then the people I was telling no, and they're not dealing with us anymore. They vote with their feet. They go bye-bye. So how does it work? You know, I just couldn't see into it. But the Lord was gracious, and he started bringing people. And, you know, Dallas and The Chosen, all these shows started coming. We sat and talked and prayed with Dallas for 3 hours before there ever was The Chosen. He showed up over here. He was trying to get it up on the rails, and these incredible things happened during that meeting. Just incredible. And Brad goes down to the bottom of the stairs with him, and he goes, Brad, stop selling me. I'm working here, and besides I got a meeting, I got to go. And he just ran off. We never looked back. And we've just been working for him steady. And so there's many stories akin to that. But it's just been the goodness of God because we said, we're going to stop.
So powerful. Wow. You said you guys started to pray about this like 6-7 years ago or something? I mean, what?
Yeah, so Paul and I, we've gone to the same church for at least 12, 14 years now.
Yeah.
And I think when we met, I was actually directing a movie at that time.
Yeah.
And one of the guys that was on one of the guys that was part of our team was going to our church as well. Yeah. And he came back exhausted Sunday morning, and it was Karen, right?
Yeah.
So Paul's wife, Karen, met the guy and said, he's like, oh, I'm so tired. She goes, why are you so tired? He goes, well, we were shooting a movie last night till the wee hours of the morning. And it's this Christian film, and you know, Karen's eyes light up like, wait, there's Christian film? Like, what does that even mean? You know, and so then we came down and visited Paul in the studio within a few weeks or something. I'm like, this place is great. You hear stories, Dean, like, one of the guys that goes to church, he has a post-production facility, and I'm like, oh, come on, like how good could it be? Like, he's a guy from church. I pictured, you know, what are we talking about? I come down here, I'm like, this is like legit. This is real. And I start meeting the crew, and I look at their resumes and the team going, why would you ever work on a dumb project like mine? It's like, you guys are too good for me. And so, through that process, to your point, for about a 3-year period, Paul and I, we just became friends, and we would just pray periodically and just kind of, I don't even know what we were praying for back then, but we had sort of teased the idea, what would happen if we kind of worked together, and what would that look like? And it never quite fit. The timing was never right, but by the end of 2015, the dots just kind of connected, and it just kind of made sense. The timing was right, and I'd say that's kind of how it all started. And then really, if there's been one thing that's been a through line, has been prayer and in the Word. Even literally, you guys got here a couple hours ago. I gave you guys a tour. We talked. When I left, Paul and I were in the Word together and praying together. That's just what we do. And like Paul, it's not a self. It's like, that's just, and I'm pleased to say it's become it's a pattern. It's a habit. It's a joy. And so, like, as Paul, you said, like, early on, if we don't get that part right, nothing else matters.
Exactly right.
So I'd sum it up being that
it's like a marriage.
It's like a marriage.
Yeah.
For 6 years that I've been here, pretty much every day we're in prayer. We're talking about the Word. That just kind of informs everything we do. We're trying to live radically dependent on God. Yeah. We're trying to be completely, totally just forget 5 years. How can I be faithful today to our Lord? Right. What does faithfulness to Christ look like right now, today? Forget tomorrow. It's got enough trouble of its own. Right. Forgetting the things that lie behind. Press toward the goal, the prize of the upward call. Like, none of that matters. Just what does faithfulness to Christ look like today? And that's how we're trying to live our lives.
Yeah, just beautiful.
And they're coming. They come. People are coming here.
The people are coming.
Yeah, but I mean, other conversational
amazing.
jobs, employees, just whatever you got. It's just all kinds of stuff happens.
Yeah.
And people come in and tell us, you know, I'm having a problem. They hear about our story.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, you know, like we had one guy, I love this story because she called her agent. She was a pretty heavy-hitting editor. She was working on some projects, a lot of horror stuff and different things that she just didn't think were good. She goes to her pastor and says, oh, well, can you pray for me? I'm working on some really dark things right now. And he says, no, I'm not going to pray for you. He said, get out of there. Just leave. Go away. She's like, I got the mortgage, and my husband's not working. There was all these things.
Right.
She spools all those things, but she calls her agent in New York. Ooh, a New York agent, all right. Hey, calls and says, hey, call over to Kappa. They're working on The Chosen. Maybe they'll hire me. She goes, I'm not calling over there. She says, why? The agent said, she'll ruin your career. They'll ruin your career. Paul will ruin your career. Yeah, nice. So anyhow, so what does she do? She gets in her car and drives here. She shows up. But we have many stories. People just showing up. It's quite amazing. The director, casting director, writers, DPs, you know, I can't keep doing these shows. They flip the script. Oh, page 47's gone. Forget that. Using this now. Wait, what about we already locked the script. No. Now go to 47. Oh, by the way, page 12 too. And now these guys are far away on sets doing stuff. They're locked in. And so what's happening is they're coming because they're chafing and they're going, the Lord's going, boom, 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 boom. They're being convicted.
Yeah.
And so they want us to encourage them. We tell them, you know what to do. The Lord will show you. Just walk forward. And so little by little, those people are getting unlocked, you know. It's really interesting. And this guy here, yeah, he's like a brother. Have you ever heard of the Kendricks brothers?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think there's another group, the Irwins? Irwin brothers? Heard about those guys?
No.
Oh, what do they do, Brad?
Well, I can only imagine.
I can only imagine.
Oh,
it's a great
heard
big
of that.
group. Yeah. Those are the Irwin brothers. Another big group. We're the Silver Long brothers.
Yeah.
We just came up with that today, by the way.
Silverman.
It could be like, I think his name should go first, but if you
This
have
is
long
idiotic,
silver,
but
that's
it's
like
a lot
long
of fun.
jump. Yeah, just that there's a fish plate.
We just thought we could do
Yeah.
so. Yeah,
Can't do it.
we didn't feel that was a good
Well,
idea.
I think I was going to say this because I love the brotherhood part.
Yeah.
Jesus sent them out 2 by 2.
That's right. Good
He
point.
sent you two to Hollywood.
He really did, brother. He
I
really
mean,
did.
That's amazing. We should make a movie about this. Yeah. But I mean,
Our lives are really not that interesting.
no,
we'll have to embellish it a little.
Brad, don't say that. But I mean,
He's a good writer.
But I think it's interesting.
Come up with something.
The power.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
in a marriage, you have that power. You
Right.
experience that power. And in this, I mean, I'm going to be praying for you guys
Thanks,
because you know the good grief, the opportunity you have here.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you take a lot of incoming in terms of spiritually, you know, with this whole thing, but I wouldn't be surprised if you did because I mean we're in the middle of the black hole here, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
no offense.
No, totally.
But you know, this is not a place known for light and goodness.
Right.
What's that like? I mean,
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that because as you were talking, it reminded me that like we never saw it as interesting or a story. Like we didn't do it to get noticed. We didn't do
Right.
it to.
No, right.
It was Paul felt compelled that that's what he wanted to do, and there was just as like anything, there was moments in time that were kind of breaking points that kind of led to that. But we were just two things that I think of, Dean. One is that like it was other people that said, like, wait, so you were a successful Hollywood studio, and then you decided to turn your back on 80% of the business
Right.
and verbally proclaim you want to honor Jesus Christ of the Bible.
Like, are you crazy?
In Hollywood. That's what you're going to do. That's your decision.
that's the business plan.
That's the business
There it is.
Right. There's your model.
Turning away
Right.
80% of the business. That's the business plan.
It seemed like a good idea at the time.
Yeah.
So,
That seemed like a good idea.
yeah.
Right.
And as we're talking about that, and now you guys are totally all in for Christ, and you're just going to stay the course, and you guys are really vocal about it.
Right.
You're unapologetic. You're just, this is who we are.
Who could
You
be
don't-
this dumb,
Who
really,
could be
right?
this dumb?
What
as
could
people-
go wrong?
What could go wrong?
Could go wrong.
Yeah.
What could go
Hollywood
wrong?
Boulevard.
That's
yeah.
right. And it was other people that say like who else has done this? Was a question we got.
Yeah.
There's a guy we met him. We knew him. Bruce
yeah,
Ben,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
We knew him briefly for
We
3
didn't
weeks. We
think
haven't
anything
talked to him
of it,
before or
yeah.
since. It's, people, God brings people in your life for like a short time, and he goes like, who's ever done that? And we're like going like, well. I guess I don't know too many. That it's because we weren't like pastors or ministers in the Bible Belt who decided to start making movies.
Right.
We come from Hollywood,
That's your
right?
business.
We come from Hollywood,
Right.
and the Lord just compelled to pivot the company, and He took all the risk. But it was like made that compulsion, and they're like, that's a story.
Oh, it's incredible.
And I'm like going, I don't see it. So all that to say, it took a lot of years for even me to have perspective. And we don't like, still to this day, we don't like think about it, except when we're talking about it with guys like you.
Right.
Yeah,
no,
we don't
I imagine you wouldn't.
dwell on it,
No, but I mean, what I'm encouraging people who are believers to do is pray for this, because I really believe you guys, we should cover you with a hedge, and because
do.
what you're doing here, and I believe the Lord will fill your nets with fish like He's bringing people in the door that you don't even know where they came from. I think that'll happen, and I think He'll lift you up, and because you've humbled yourself, but you've taken that step. Like, that's inspiring. And again, we're not telling don't quit your job if you're not. I mean, you know, we have to be wise, but we also, if the Lord's telling you to do something, the answer is yes. I mean, and you've taken this step that is inspiring. I mean, with risk. And again, you weren't a failed guy. You were a successful guy.
Working, yeah. Well, you know, and I often tell people, when you jump off the roof, there's no taking it back, you know. And so that's kind of what happened. You know, we jumped off. But I just prepared for impact. I to my shame, I didn't know. I didn't know what was going to happen, man. That's all I come up with, you know. Just like, get ready, you know, because I felt that this was going to be, you know, tilt, curtains, done. But I felt it's better that to be out of business than to do the way we were doing it. That's all. It just got to that place. But wait a minute, it gets better. When we started working together, and we started thinking, we've got to start helping other people get faith films done, because we started noticing they're bringing us stuff that is out of money. Oh, we got this problem, that problem. And they shot, the pandemic hit them, SAG, any number of things would hit you. And so here we have these faith films that are benched. They're benched. And it's like, what would the evil one love? Put you on the bench. Right. And then the investors are like, well, wait a minute, I'm burned out, man. I'm not giving you any more money. And I'm not doing this again either.
Right.
They just cut that.
Right.
So then the people are like, Lord, did I run ahead of you? Did I get ahead of myself and you? And was this what you wanted me to do? They start to question. They're on the bench. Now you got two.
Done.
Right. So these boom, 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 they're all getting clicked. We realized, let's get them up on the rails. So we started doing it. And we started saying, okay, well, let's help this one and that one, this one. Why? Because it's a faith project.
Yeah.
We don't do other stuff. It's just the faith things. But we did this, and Brad said, this is not a sustainable model. You can't just keep doing it this way. So we started this thing called the Christian Film Finishing Fund. We started saying, if people want to get involved, get involved.
Yeah.
Like right now, we've got a list of films. We've clicked off. How many have we clicked off, Brad? TV and film?
I mean, if you count TV and film, at least 20, if you count episodes, 25, 30 maybe.
Okay, so there's a nonprofit, just to clarify what he's saying, there's a nonprofit called the Christian Film Finishing Fund. Check that out if you're interested in supporting this kind of work, because this is really interesting. So people can give to that. People can take on a project.
Right.
Or help something.
Look, what do we do? World Vision. Adopt a filmmaker. Go.
Right.
It's that kind of thing.
What a great idea.
And it worked out great, because people are like, oh, I like that. Well, that's not interesting. This is good.
Right.
Okay, go with it.
Right.
And so we have a list of stuff they can get and just watch the trailer, and you can see a synopsis about the project. But we just felt like, let's get people involved in that.
Yeah.
And that's been the most gratifying thing, because, you know, it's like the needful things. If you watch for the needful, that's the Lord shows you.
Yeah. Right.
And I always tell people, if you have a flat tire and I drive on by it, well, not so much. But if I stop, you got to pull over and stop. That's those are needful things, because we were going, okay, we had our plan was we will create lots of films. We're going to create films. And we did a film called Selfie Dad. And Brad wrote and directed it. I love it. We just felt this is the beginning. But we've realized we can be far more powerful in serving God this other way, because it takes years to click off a film.
Right.
But what if we do 10 films this year, 20 films? Now you're
Force
talking.
multiplying.
Bang.
Yeah.
And so that's what we want to get in. We want to be able to push more out faster.
Right.
And that's really what we're doing.
So you've worked with Kirk Cameron a little bit, and the Kendrick brothers you mentioned, but let's talk about this little-known thing called The Chosen. That one worked.
Have you heard of The Chosen?
I've heard of it.
I've heard of it.
There's something, yes.
So what happened? How did this
That's
happen?
what we've been trying to figure out.
You don't know.
We still are asking, Lord, what is going on?
Like,
Yeah, it's great. Go, Brad. Go, brother.
I mean, look, we not great friends, but we've known Dallas peripherally, the show creator, for a number of years prior to the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess for our involvement, I knew Dallas and I knew a couple other guys involved, like the producers of the show. I knew them a lot better for years. I've worked with some of the guys, and yeah, one day just I forgot exactly how it came about, but we just had invited Dallas here for quite a while, like as a running start, like part of my role, because I'd made enough projects in the Christian film world. Okay, I'd been involved with the whatever the Christian film industry is or was from about the mid 2000s with like the Kendricks and Facing the Giants and stuff. It became a community of guys, right? And it was a small community, and I was kind of part of that. So I knew enough people that when we made the pivot in 2016, it just made logical sense for me to be sort of a point of contact, say calling my friends, right? And so I'm calling the guys that are going to do The Chosen and so on. Nobody knew it was going to be a hit or anything. So Dallas comes out, we meet, and as Paul was mentioning, I thought it was a 2-hour meeting, right? And we were with Dallas, in Texas, a year and a half ago or so, and I was relaying the story saying, when Dallas came out, we had a 2-hour meeting, just the three of us, me, Paul, and Dallas, and we prayed for the first hour and 45, and Dallas says, Brad, it was a 3-hour meeting. And I said, I stand corrected. It was a 3-hour meeting. We prayed for the first 2 hours and 45 minutes, and
just great.
It was just a beautiful time, and that's kind of where we become. If we're going to have an hour meeting, I'm pretty confident the first 50, you're going to have to remind me we have to talk about work.
Yeah.
For the business meetings, right? Because our passion, our heartbeat, we're mission-minded, we're mission-driven. So that wasn't any different with The Chosen. And so, look, we just met with Dallas. We introduced him to some people, or the editor that became John Quinn, who became the lead editor. We're the post-production side, right. And it was a turning point for me as I thought of where we were going as a company. When Dallas came out, not because we thought the show was we didn't know if the show was going to be a hit, but I guess to sum it up, Dean, as Paul mentioned, when I started giving Dallas a tour of the facility, we don't get 5 steps into it, and he goes, Brad, stop selling me. And I'm like, I didn't know I was selling you anything, but point well taken. And he said, this is where I need to be. And however he worded it, and I said, I was kind of like, well, man, think about it. You don't have to make any decisions. And he said, no, I've been praying. I already texted my wife. And what did he say? He said, this was a holy hour? What did he say?
He sent me a text and said, I just texted my wife and said, this was a holy hour. Because we just prayed and he told us how he got started and what happened. Yeah. He went upside down on a film he did and how that just devastated him. And he thought, what are we going to do? How are we going to pay the mortgage? He said, I sat with my wife in the living room and just cried. We didn't know what else to do. And the wife, his dear, dear wife, who we know as well, very, very gracious woman, she said, well, I'm thinking about the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes.
Right.
And that became the punch point for everything these guys do. And the message is, you hold it out, you give it to God, and He multiplies it.
Right.
And so I said, okay, now we got it. So they got that. We understand that, have integrated that thinking into what we do, even on the films that we bring in. Brad jokes around about saying no film left behind. So is every film I can only imagine? Well, not really, no. But what if it has a really strong gospel message?
Right.
What if we can re-edit, rework that? What if we can pop that? What if we can make it look and sound better? Lift it up, make it more coherent? What if we can do that? Now you got something. So now we're getting more good messages out. And that's the name of the game as far as I can tell. Because when you have the onslaught of the secular, what I'll call filmmaking industry, look, they're just doing what comes natural. They're making money. That's what they do. So whatever they need to do to make, they're going to do it. And so they output all these projects that they think might comport with the popular culture's interests. But what we notice is the culture's without hope. They're totally tanked.
You think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you show stuff that points people and gives them hope, they grab it. So I say, as many as we can get done, that's what we're doing. No film left behind. Let's go. So that's how we're doing it.
One thing as you're talking, I was just thinking, this is great. When when Dallas first came out, we were thinking about The Chosen there. That when he first came out, he had done like an 18-minute short film at that point that he did for his church, which sort of became like the proof of concept for The Chosen. I don't think he didn't know it at the time. He wasn't doing it for that purpose. Nobody did, but he did, and it was a nice little video, 18-minute video that kind of went viral and stuff. And that was kind of the touch point that would become like I said, the proof of concept for The Chosen. And he comes out, and this shows you that it's the Lord's doing, not like, this is how clunky we are. Like, he goes, hey, did you guys see that short film that I did? And Paul said, yeah, I didn't finish it though. And Dallas is like, it's 18 minutes. And Paul's like, yeah, I started, I didn't finish it. And you know, and Dallas was like, I appreciate your honesty. That's pretty cool. Most people would tell me, what do you say? Is like, most people would tell me they watched it. I'd ask them 3 questions. I know they're lying, you know? And so we were just like, I guess just sort of like get rid of the pride, as best as, you know, just like, just be transparent, be real. Like, if people don't like us, whatever. But so it was just I guess to sum that up is like that, I don't know if it was that day or the next time he came out. When at that moment, because we had been, that was like 2018-ish, give or take, 19, I don't remember. Somewhere in that area. We had already been here, we were working on it for like 2.5 years, 3 years since the pivot of the company to wanting to honor God. And things were moving in a decent direction. But at that moment, not because we thought it was going to be some hit, we didn't know The Chosen was going to be a hit, but I just remember thinking, okay, we were a big part of something small, now we're a small part of something big. And I just felt like, it felt like something was about to happen bigger. And not that we thought The Chosen was going to be this global hit, but it felt like, okay, Paul, we need to decrease all the more that the Lord may increase. And we just started to see more activity happen. And now, and certainly The Chosen would become our calling card. It still is, as a post facility. We do a lot of other fantastic films with incredibly talented filmmakers, films and television shows that we're extremely honored and humbled to be a part of. They may not have the global name and success of The Chosen, at least not yet, but it's been a joy to be able to serve them and be able to help them, and just, I guess, going with an attitude, we are just trying to serve so that these Christ-centered filmmakers can complete their projects with excellence, so that they can be successful, so that they will keep doing it. If we can be part of that equation, then we feel, we don't know how many days, weeks, years we have left on this planet. That's kind of what the Lord's called us to help these guys succeed so that they can keep doing it. And like you said, it's a force multiplier to try to just use whatever minutes we have left on this planet for God's glory.
I'm so inspired. I want to. Can I office here?
Yes.
I mean, this is just
Come on down.
ridiculous.
It took you long enough to ask, dude. Yes.
He waited a whole hour for
Jonathan,
that.
if you get,
I mean, I could
21
just set
ready.
up shop over here.
Yeah.
I mean, God is so good. B, his math is different. I mean, your business plan. So let's turn away 80% of the business and spend 3/4 of the meeting praying. Like, that's the
How's
business
that
plan.
sound?
Can I say one thing about that real quick?
Yeah.
One to add to that. So this is sort of, I mentioned Paul saying he didn't think of that. I have to say my own foolishness as well. We were at a meeting with a guy in Texas who had agreed to invest a lot of money in what we were doing. And that's a different story. We decided not to go in that direction, but at that time. But he asked, this was a breakfast meeting, and he said, Brad, what's your 5-year plan here? I wasn't trying to be cynical. I wasn't trying to be silly or anything. But at that moment in time, at a breakfast meeting, he goes, what's your 5-year plan? I go, my 5-year plan, I hope to be loyal to Jesus Christ between now and lunchtime.
Right.
And he looked at me like I was an idiot, which isn't wrong. You know, he wasn't too far off, but it just felt like
We thought we ran him off.
We thought we ran him off, but it's just like I don't know. I don't know. I can't even get today right.
Right.
You know, so forget
Well,
that.
you've got to nod your head on. In the words of the great Vin Scully, you want to make God smile, tell him your plan.
That's right. He would put stuff in once in a while. He was great. Yeah. Well, that's right. And you know, and we talked to him that day, but the stuff we told that guy was completely incomprehensible. You know, he's thinking business return and all that.
Right. And he's looking at you.
And he's like,
this sounds like the
who
worst
are these
idea I've
guys?
ever heard.
It really does.
Yeah.
It really does,
And I just to put a cherry on that.
Yeah.
It could get worse, and it did. He said, "What's the 1 year, 2-year, and 5-year plan?" I said, 1 year, 2 year, and 5 year. So then I said, "We will pray, 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 and then we'll serve and obey." He's like, "Oh, okay."
Check, please.
Yeah.
So we're doing a
think-
business seminar right after this if you want to come to it.
Well, no, but I
grow
was
your-
thinking about God's math and God's economy.
That's why we're going to
so
do
this
that.
is
Why did we do that?
this is the God who owns the cattle on 1,000
Amen.
hills.
Amen.
You know.
That's right.
That's right.
And so either he does or he doesn't.
It-
And then we either
love
trust
it.
him or we don't.
That's right.
But think about the math. So didn't he take like 5 loaves and do 2,000, or 7 and 2,000, and then 5 and 5,000? Like he does more with less,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Well
He
said.
does.
Well said.
I mean, I think we should follow it.
This is
it
great.
Seems like a
Let's
good
go
idea.
with it.
Yeah. So the business plan: turn away 80% of the
Right.
business,
Check.
3/4 of the meeting in
Yep.
prayer.
Right.
Check. This guy's good.
I mean, this
Yeah.
is it.
He really knows.
Yeah.
We figured it
Yeah,
out.
well, that's it.
But I mean, he's
Brilliant.
so good, and he's been good to you. We're
Yeah.
going to pray for you. He you know, I'm honored to be here, and to see this testimony. You know, we what does it say? You know, we had the victory by the blood of the Lamb and the power of the testimony.
Yes.
And this is a testimony. It's unfolding, and we don't know how much time we have left. And you know, yeah, you're right. I mean, just between now and dinner, we'll try to figure it
Right,
out.
right.
But I really, this is inspiring. And you know, we got to interview Kirk Cameron for this program, and of course the great Ryan and Heather O'Quinn, who
Love
are
'em.
just the
Love
most
all those
incredible
guys, yeah.
people. Thank you for letting us be here. They made the introduction. It's so inspiring to me to see this little group of people who are going forward in faith with light in a dark place. You know, we're not sitting in, you know, Iowa. You know, we're in Hollywood. And I mean, you know, even Fonzie, you know, when he came to Hollywood, had to jump the shark. You know, like this
Yes,
is
he did.
like it's a dark place, and what you guys are doing in terms of bringing light is really inspiring. So, and just staying together. Here's another thing for you. We're over time, but just forget about the. I forgot. I didn't even ask one
I
question.
love it.
Oh,
You
sorry.
lived up to it. That's
I-
awesome. I loved it. Yeah.
This is my pointer.
Yeah. yeah.
But one of the things for your routine when you're doing like prayer and getting into the Word, my wife and I started this communion, and we've started to like this morning before I left. She won't let me go out the door now without like. And so you can order online. You can get these, and they come with the little cup and the wafers in there.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can-
We've seen those. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just an idea. If you want to start with the Lord's
Hey.
Supper,
Oh,
I mean, it's been a powerful, meaningful tradition for us, even though we've just started like
how
a few weeks
awesome.
ago.
Nice.
So
That's fantastic.
next time we come, we're expecting to have communion.
We will.
Come on up top, and we'll do it.
You guys, thank
That's
you.
super.
God bless
I
you,
mean
Dean.
it, and this is exciting and wonderful. I have chills. This is a wonderful opportunity to meet you guys.
Too.
Honoring. Thank you.
God bless you.
This is The Good Life from Hollywood. See you next time.